Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, better? Did you hear me? Okay, let me, I can't see you. We can't see you.
Uh, let me you start off and then I'll just turn on my video in a minute.
All right. A warm welcome to you on our today's speaker series. It's our utmost pleasure to have you here with us today. So in today's discussion, we are going to discuss about what should startup invest in and forego. What are the key metrics that investors are looking into now? So tell us, has COVID had a drastic impact on the Indian market in March and April with indices crashing more than 20% from then till now? We have seen a big recovery. Why? Nikhil,
Sure. Yeah.
you're here?
So I'm here. So sure, we did see a significant correction at the end of the month in March, but most of the correction that happened then has kind of reversed and markets have recovered significantly. I think with markets, much like other things, we are a forward-looking ecosystem in a way. We react much more based on what might happen tomorrow or the perception of what might happen tomorrow versus the news which is coming out today. So people have kind of factored that whenever Corona will end and whenever we live in a post-pandemic world, things will go back to normal and manufacturing and industry will make a comeback. And I think based on that pent up demand which might come about, things have recovered very quickly.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm sure this recovery is good and the process keep continuing in this manner. Well, so what are the
Mhm.
factors you feel can influence the market at the moment?
There are many factors, Kalpana, both domestic and foreign, which affect how well stock markets do. The most important thing, of course, is liquidity and the amount of money available in the market. I
Hmm.
think right now, a lot of money has been printed in the West, in developed economies, and we are seeing a lot of that even trickle down into our domestic economy by virtue of us having a large services sector or us, our banking system getting a lot more money, which has flowed in from different pockets in the West. I think outside of liquidity, the other big thing is corporate growth, how well companies are doing, the rate at which they're growing. Unfortunately, we have not had the best quarter when it comes to corporate earnings. But I think people are cognizant of the fact that this is a short-term phenomenon and things will change soon. And I think a combination of these two factors has led the markets to recover quite quickly.
Oh, wonderful. So also these factors constant, are these factor constant or do they keep changing?
They keep changing. I mean, at the end of the day, think of it as a normal person. Like if you are a, a middle class person in India and you have savings of say X amount, now at the end of the day, you have to either allocate it to say a bank FD or do an investment in real estate or buy a mutual fund or whatever be it. And typically, most other avenues like real estate has not done well in the last 5 to 10 years. If you have a rental property which is residential in India, you only make about 1.5%.
Hmm.
If you put your money in a bank in a fixed deposit, you only make 4 or 5% now. So the avenues a normal person has to invest capital in have kind of dried up, even if you want to just beat inflation rates by virtue of doing this investment. So a lot more money is finding its way into the stock market, and I think this trend will continue.
Good to know. And what are the sectors that have been resilient in this time and why? Which sectors do you think would emerge strongly?
Well, pharma has done exceedingly well for obvious reasons because of the demand for care and many other. I mean, with Corona, a lot more of the surgeries, like we were talking earlier, might not be happening in the hospital right now. But
Mhm.
pharma companies which are into drug development and stuff like that have done significantly well. IT companies are doing well. IT companies typically tend to have long-term contracts and they're not too affected by the short-term 1 year or 2 year ups and downs which happen in the market.
Mhm.
So these two sectors have done well. Outside the public markets, a lot of industries are doing well. So I would say online education has gone crazy during the pandemic. Uh, People in fintech have done well by virtue of how many new people have entered the markets over the last 6 months. So
Mhm.
different pockets, there is a significant rebalance in industry, and I think prevailing trends which existed pre-COVID have kind of got exaggerated during COVID times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I comply by you. And these industries have been of great help in some way or the other, especially
Mhm.
during times like this. So,
Mhm.
do you think the markets are due for a correction?
Personally, see, we manage money, third-party capital under True Beacon, which is a asset management company. We have a mandate wherein the amount of hedging that we do on the portfolio goes from typically as little as 10% to 80%. Right now, we are hedged to about 80%, which is the maximum hedges we ever have. Think of hedging in terms of insurance or a backup if a stock doesn't do well. You have a hedge in place, so in case the markets were to fall, you can like mitigate your losses. So going by that, we are very circumspect today. Uh, we are worried about how quickly the markets have recovered, and we think there is a striking misalignment between how well businesses are doing on the ground versus their stock price. So yeah, we at some level do expect a correction in the coming month.
All right. And so you run a fintech fund and the incubator rain matters.
Mhm.
How do you think companies in the space have fared so far?
Mm, they've done well. I mean, our fund is focused on fintech, and fintech as an ecosystem even has grown significantly in the last 6 months. And most of the companies have reaped the rewards of how quickly the market is growing. So it's done reasonably well.
Oh, even with such stiff competition ruling over the market, the way you have managed it is like just amazing. Well, so what advice would you have for investors looking to enter the market now?
If you're entering the public markets, I think it's very important, at least at the beginning, not to leverage and use too much margin. I think a lot of people tend to look upon the market as a means of doubling their money or
Mhm.
earning a rate of return, which could be like 50% a year or whatever. I think you have to be reasonable with the markets. If you walk into the markets with expectations of making 15% a year, and you can continue to remain rational and disciplined and not leverage or borrow money to increase your trading size, I think there are plenty of good opportunities. So I would say at the beginning, definitely stay away from leverage and margin trading would be great advice for a new investor.
All right. And what kind of investment philosophy does your new wealth management venture, Trubecon, follow?
It's a
And
very,
what impact has
Mhm.
COVID had on the fund returns?
So it's a very conservative fund. There are two buckets in True Beacon. The 65% bucket, which is the larger of the two, invests in large cap Nifty companies only. It stays away from mid cap and small cap companies. The balance 35% is a strategy based on mathematics, which takes advantage of volatility in the short term.
Mhm.
The 35% does well when markets go up and down a lot. So
Mhm.
we run strategies like mathematical strategies based on historical correlation patterns. It could be pair trading, it could be delta hedging, mean regression strategies, correlation strategies. So the combination of the two, we believe, should give us a return of about 6 to 8% alpha over
Wow.
whatever the Nifty does. So the fund has done exceedingly well in the last 1 year. I think it has beat the Nifty, which is our underlying benchmark, by about 26%. So the fund is doing well. Early days. We're just starting our year two, and we have two funds which are open right now, but many more will start over the next 12 months.
Wow, that's a wonderful strategy, and I wish all the very best for your and the future for your company. So I want to understand, such a young age, you have created such a huge empire for yourself. How did you start? There are a lot of
Uh,
entrepreneurs who are looking forward to you. You inspire a lot.
sure. I mean, I think the simple answer to that would be very organically we have begun.
Hmm.
One thing led to another, like throughout my professional life.
Hmm.
I don't think we ever planned or mapped out the next 10 years
Hmm.
with any kind of a plan or a roadmap that we followed. We were kind of like nimble and agile and
Hmm.
had a ear to the ground, and we kind of were able to change according to whatever the market required. And I think that has helped really well. So I started trading at about 17. So it's about 17 years ago now. I'm just about 34. Uh, I used to trade along with my brother, who was also a trader back then, and we're partners in business as well. Trading led to being a sub broker. Being a sub broker led to managing money for friends who wanted their capital to be invested in the stock market. And about 10, 11 years ago, we changed from being a sub broker to a broker. So it
Hmm.
began very organically. We became a broker because we were managing money and we were paying too much in terms of commission.
Hmm.
One of the main reasons to become a broker back then was to get rid of all the commission that we were paying. That's how it began, and then broking led to uh, we got a new model in place where we only charged a flat fee, whereas everybody was charging a percentage fee at that point.
Yes.
That brought in a lot of business and a lot of organic clients coming onto us without us having to do any marketing based on how little we were charging as a fee.
Hmm.
That soon evolved into our tech platforms, wherein we started building tech around the user experience of investing in stock markets. And I think now people come to us more for the product than the pricing that we might offer.
That's amazing. And what are the challenges you faced during your at the age of 17 is too early to start something.
Mhm.
And
So with trading, there are not many challenges. I mean, anybody can open a trading account and start off. I think challenges back in the day were more emotional because you have to uh, try and grow into the skin of a trader. Typically, all humans have many biases which make them not the best at trading. I think to inculcate the right kind of structure and habits to make you a trader are the first challenges in a trader's life. It's more emotional than it's not a skill where there are rules saying, there are not 10 rules if you follow that everything will work.
absolutely.
I think you have to really work on getting the right mindset. And that I think that was the biggest challenge over the first few years.
Wow. And you also played chess for India.
Not now. I mean, I used to play
Yeah.
when I was a kid. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was that all about?
Started playing chess very early when I was about 5, and
Hmm.
then it started from playing with your friends to playing competitions, inter-school competitions, which later became state level competitions and national level competitions. And it's just like a stepping stone, a ladder kind of a thing, right? Like much like any other sport. So I played up until I was about 14 years old. After that, I've kind of like lost touch myself with chess. I haven't really had many people to play it with. So over the last 10 years, there has been very little chess in my life.
All right. So, well, thank you so much. Your response today were truly and genuinely very enlightening. We have truckload of knowledge from you. Thank you very much for taking out time to share your mind and inspiring us. Well, now moving on to a quick rapid fire. Who inspires you the most?
Who inspires me? Who inspires me a lot? I think someone like you mean in the world of business, right?
Anything. Anyone can inspire you. It could be even
Uh, I'm very inspired by talent, so I really like musicians, people who are
artist.
great. Artists, I think I really like that. I like, if I had to give you an example of a singer that I like, I would say somebody like, I like Michael Bublé. I think he's a great singer. Yeah.
Well, and what's the greatest risk you have ever taken?
Greatest risk. I think the whole quitting formal education thing was a big risk.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I think I stopped going to school very early and never went to a college and stuff like that. I think at some level that was a big risk at that time.
Of course, yeah, I do believe that. And what is the most memorable moment of your life?
Most memorable. I would say when we began the Zerodha journey, because I don't think we expected for it to become all that it has become today. And I think going back in time, that would be the most memorable moment.
I'm sure. And if you could change one thing about you, what would it be?
Mm, if I had to change one thing about me, I think I tend to look at a glass half empty versus half full. I'm not the most optimistic person in the world. I think I would like to change that.
Oh, okay. And place where you love being the most?
I quite like Bangalore, Kalpana. I mean, you studied here, but there is a lot to love about Bangalore. I think the people here are nice, the weather is incredible, and it's a great place to be young and start a company or be in the startup ecosystem because of all the tools and peers you have at hand in Bangalore. So I would say Bangalore.
Yeah, I love Bangalore too.
Mm,
Brought up there, done my education, and
yeah.
it's incredible weather, as you said. Yeah.
Yeah.
And your favorite hobby?
Favorite hobby, I enjoy playing sport. So I would say playing football or pool or badminton. I think those would be my hobbies.
Okay. And the very last question, if you were the prime minister for a day,
Mhm.
what is the first thing you would do?
Mhm. Reduce a lot of the red tape which is in our country. I think
Okay.
many of our policies are archaic in a way, and they are a big hindrance to business and do not help. And I think, yeah, reducing red tape.
Okay. So what challenges are you facing when you're talking about policy hindrance?
Uh, I mean, let me not use an example from my industry, but let me just talk about another industry. Say if you're in the construction space,
Hmm.
if before starting every new project you have so much red tape that your file has to go through 10 different bodies, I
Hmm.
think we need a mechanism wherein the time uh, taken to get all of these clearances is reduced and maybe consolidated with one body which can grant this very easily. Because stepping out of the pandemic, I think we will need to do a lot to allow for growth to spurt again. And
Hmm.
reducing the red tape, I think, will go a long way.
Yeah, I had another guest here who said the same thing, and he comes from
Mhm.
this same industry,
Yeah.
really well. So yeah. So a message for our platform social peoples. Do you have anything to say?
Uh, Nothing. I think it's such an exciting time because I can see it happening in my industry right now. Like women investors, which have not really been a huge population up until now, are suddenly coming into the markets. And I think women are great at multitasking.
Hmm.
Many of the skills required to be a great trader. I can see that changing. And I think it's a great trend for our country to grow on the whole. We need higher participation from women. And I think we're on the right path.
Great. And any word of wisdom would you want to tell our viewers? A word of piece of advice or a few word of wisdom to your audience?
Yeah, sure. I think it's a great time to be in India and to build a business.
Hmm.
A lot is changing, and whenever there is significant change in how a country runs or in which industries do well, I think there are many, many opportunities that open up. It's very important to be cognizant to that change and understand which industry you want to be in. And definitely, I think spending time to figure out what industry will do well in the next 10 years will go a long way in helping businesses.
Great. And there's a question from our viewers who wants to understand what CSR activities are you involved in?
So we do a fair amount of CSR, a lot around climate change. During COVID, we did a lot of work around feeding migrant laborers, some work around, procuring PPE kits. But we do a fair amount of CSR. I would say much more than you would expect of a typical startup.
All right. That's such a noble cause and noble thought. Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much. Let me take an opportunity to give you a vote of thanks. It's a great honor and privilege to propose vote of thanks to Mr. Nikhil Kamath, who despite his busy schedule has found a time to grace this special interaction. We are extremely grateful to you for your sharing your words of encouragement and giving us valuable inputs. Your eminent presence has indeed made this interaction a memorable one, and we unite to thank you from bottom of our heart for your kindness, interest, and support. We wish you all the very best for your future endeavors. Thank you so much. Stay safe.
Thank you, Kalpana. Goodbye.
Bye.